Hello and welcome to the Amiga Ireland podcast. I'm Jarlath.
I'm Rob.
And I'm Luke.
Rob, what have you been up to?
Changing lots of nappies and dealing with vomit and all that kind of stuff. I've actually been getting a bit of development work in. So I've released a little tool for editing palettes, which might be useful for games makers and things like that. I've designed a couple of Amiga add-ons. The first one was I wanted to design a Zorba card. I've never done that before. I don't own a Zorba computer, so I also designed a little adapter for the side of an Amiga 500 that'll let it plug in. So I'm waiting on the prototypes for that now. So that's what's been keeping me busy.
Wow, that's been a productive month.
You've been very productive, I must say. Taking into consideration how little time you have actually with your small baby.
Yeah, it's just funny the way it works out sometimes, because you actually can't do anything else, so you're just kind of sitting around for an hour here and an hour there.
If you can develop something to handle those dirty nappies, everyone will buy it.
Never work a day in my life then.
Yeah. And if it only works on Amiga, Amiga will come back in full force because everyone will buy one.
Absolutely.
How about you, Luke?
Well, I've been discussing and debating the preparations for Ami Party here in Poland with my co-organizers. It's going to be great. I'm absolutely positive there are going to be a lot of people down there as well. So that's the thing.
Good stuff.
Yeah. And we're going to be talking to those guys next week.
Yeah. But that's another story.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, let's see. Since we last spoke, I've been playing Amiga Live with Amiga Bill on his Twitch stream, which was great fun. So we were playing Amiga games 2-player, and he's based in New York. I was playing from the west of Ireland. I tell you, it's a really cool little thing, Amiga Live.
Very good, very good.
Mm-hmm. And I've also written my first technical article ever, and it was for KA Plus magazine, so that'll be out in the next issue.
Oh, very good.
That's really great. I've had the opportunity to actually read your article, and it is really well structured, I must say. And I encourage everyone to actually read it.
Oh, thank you.
Excellent. Tell us what it's about. Give us a little overview.
It's about networking on the C64.
Ah, very good.
Specifically Wi-Fi and BBSing and stuff like that. Thomas from KA Plus sent me a proof copy of what he's done, and I have to say the layout, the graphics, the style of the magazine is absolutely stunning. What they're doing, it looks really good. So I think I'm going to start subscribing to that one too.
Brilliant.
If I can get away with it here.
Good
stuff.
Good. Really good.
Cool. Can we go on to the news?
Go for it.
Okay. Amiga on the Lake have started a donations program. You can visit amigaonthelake.com/AOTL-donations, and you can suggest a developer, and the money will be funneled into that particular person. So our project, which is a nice initiative. So it looks like Amiga on the Lake is going to, not just be a retailer, but hopefully, be a part of the development community and stuff like that as well. So that was nice to see.
Excellent, yeah. So hopefully we'll see something come of that, I
really think that's a good idea as well. It can spur the development, as it's just gone a bit stale, and I'm really hoping that can, help it.
There was a similar thing a while ago by Papiasaur, as he's known, in the MorphOS community, where every so often people would put donations in and nominate a bunch of people, and whatever they had in the hat would be split up between all the nominated developers, which was great, and it spur on development a bit, so hopefully we'll see a bit more like that.
Very good idea, yeah.
Other Amiga on the Lake news, they have been appointed the Aeon North American dealer. So this is a bit of a funny one. If I know people have been following the Amiga news over the last while, they were already the dealers for the Amiga 1 X5000 and from Amiga Kit, and I'm not exactly sure what happened, but there was a big announcement, and suddenly them and Amiga Kit weren't friends anymore, and no one really knew what happened. People still don't know what happened, but now it's good to see that they're sort of back on track and will actually be acting as distributors over there. So yeah, it's good news.
Yeah, so it looks like they're going to deal directly with Aeon instead now.
Yeah, That's it, yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, hopefully that will work out nicely for everybody.
Yeah, because there's no other dealer, as far as I know, on that side of the pond, so that's good.
Yeah.
Right, and now the news from the C64 world. I'm pretty sure you guys are all familiar with the Ultimate 1541, a great device for C64, and it can emulate, a disk drive. And right now, the guy who invented actually that cartridge has just announced that he's going to produce an FPGA implementation of C64 with the Ultimate 1541 included on board, which is a really, really good idea, I think. And the name is actually Ultimate 64. All the description and all the questions, other things, will be in the show notes. So this is really great, I think.
Yeah, it looks fantastic as a product.
Oh, and you can use it actually with your old casing from your 64 as well.
And it looks funny because it's a tiny little board, and it just sort of sits at the back of the casing, and it's like it's very good.
There's been another Limbo update for the C64. Another work in progress video was published to YouTube. It's looking very smooth at the moment, and there will be a link to that YouTube video in the show notes. I'm looking forward to that.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
So similar but not the same as the Ultimate 64 that Luke was talking about. There's Jens Schoenfeld and his individual computers. They have a remake of the C64 motherboard, and there's a new one that's basically supposed to be out around about now, and that's the C64 Reloaded Mark II. So this is a more exact one-to-one replacement for the C64 motherboard. So it's based on the original chips. So it's a new motherboard with new memory and new power regulation circuits and all this, new video output, but uses the original SID chips, the original Commodore chips as well that can be fitted in these special sockets. And it's a nice bit of kit. But it can auto-detect the chips that you use, so it'll automatically configure itself to the best setup for the particular chips you want to use.
And I think a bit of a competition is always good for the customers as well, don't you agree, guys?
Absolutely, and there'll always be the people who say, it doesn't sound or look right unless it has the original chips. So that, there'll definitely be a market for that, even though it is much more serious bit of engineering, I suppose. So it'll be more expensive from what I gather anyway.
Yeah, and good old Commodore is stronger than ever, I think.
Absolutely,
so
yeah.
I'm really, really glad about that. Right, there's news from the MorphOS, world. A new version of QuackFa communicator has been released, and it's got a GG plugin as well. So if you use actually GG and you use that communicator, the new version is just for you.
The Computer and Communication Museum of Ireland has had a revamp, and they're adding some new attractions, and one of those is a Commodore and Amiga section, which is great news.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's really cool. So they're based in the west of Ireland. They're in Galway. They had a meeting there that I attended a while back, and basically myself and maybe a few others from the group are going to try to make sure that Commodore and Amiga stuff is represented as well as possible. They've got a really nice bunch of people working there, and the revamp has turned out really nicely. One of the things they've done is set up a switch. They've got a stack of consoles connected to one display, and then a switch that you use to switch between whichever machine you want to play. That's going to be a nice attraction here on this side of the country.
Next time I'm down in Galway, I'll be sure to pop into it because I saw your photographs from it. Look
cool,
good.
Yeah. Give me a shout if you're going in.
I will, absolutely. Okay, so there's a lot of small hardware gubbins and things coming out at the moment, and one of them is the A1200 Bifrost. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but this looks really cool actually. It's a replacement LED circuit for the A1200, and so your power floppy and hard drive LEDs, it replaces them with a sort of a standalone light effects unit that so you've got multicolor LEDs underneath, and you can configure them to do different colors and different patterns using nothing but the LEDs themselves. So you actually press on the tops of the LEDs to change the settings and to communicate with the board as such. Brilliant idea. A lot of people like the flashy stuff, and it's I'm sure there's plenty of people will be showing that off at the next meetings around the place.
Cool. So is it like one of those gamer keyboards that have the underlighting and the configurable colours?
It's that kind of idea, and you can have sort of, you know, colours fading into other colours and all that kind of stuff. But it's like obviously just, you know, localized on the HD LEDs and the power LEDs, but it does, you know, still functions as the LEDs would, but with transitioning colours and things.
Nice
so
touch.
It's very, very, very clever. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's really nice, but I find just one small, you know, like a disadvantage of that actually. The thing that it's lacking for me, for example, is the information about the PCM CIA port, you know. If it had that, you know, like notification, you know, of the, you know, like CF card
activity.
or activity.
Yeah.
Oh yes, that's the one. The activity LED for the, you know, like a CF or SD card, or, you know, like your Ethernet or Wi-Fi card, that would have been just a perfect replacement for me, to be honest. You know, that's just one more thing that's missing, in my opinion, of course.
The A1200 motherboard actually has a facility for the
yes, I know that. Yeah,
PCMCA activity, but it's not on the, it's sort of blank on the motherboard. So
yeah, but I think you can add, you know, like 2 or 3 resistors and it'll work.
And a transistor.
But I'm not the technical person, and I'm really, you know, like not very good if it comes to soldering. So if that actually had it done, you know, that would be really great.
The thing is with this product is it doesn't actually communicate with the 1200 itself. So the only information it gets is what's already there, as in the 3 LED signals. That, you know, so it can't tell anything else without actually modifying the motherboard. Okay. But that is that's something I would love to see as well, is, you know, the extra activity lights. So
that's amazing.
The thing. You're just looking at it there, yeah.
Are you checking the link?
Yeah,
I am. I don't know if you've
see the video as well.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at the video. It looks incredible. This for me is more important than getting a new case or keys or anything.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. Just personally, oh my god, I'm looking at this going, this is sexy. Like, you know.
And I think the price is pretty encouraging, you know, for that stuff.
Especially since he's gone all out and he's got like custom designed boxes for shipping it and everything. You know, I think it's really well polished, you know. But fair play to him.
Wow, yeah, I see. Order yours for €16.95. That is incredible. Jesus, I will possibly have this ordered before we finish recording this show.
I was just about to say that. I know what you're doing tonight.
You can write a review of that.
There you go.
Right. Okay. So, guys, next item is if you're interested into, you know, like computer archaeology, Aminet is the biggest base of you know, like files if it comes to Amiga, and down there you can actually find Ombredocs. What are Ombredocs? The chipset that was to replace, as far as I remember, the AGA chipset. It was at that time, it was around 1993. It was pretty revolutionary. So if you are really interested in history of computers and history of Commodore and Amiga itself, it's worth checking how it might have been. Have a read.
It's very interesting stuff.
Very interesting.
Heartbreaking, possibly.
Yeah, as well.
Yeah, well, in other news, our last interview with Eddie Carroll has been translated to Greek by Alex76gr on the forum amigahellas.gr. So there was great work done there by the Amiga Hellas guys, so thanks so much for that.
Brilliant.
And the link will be in the show notes. And also a shout out to some other guys on the forum there: Vincent, Ami Jim, Salaxy54, Midwan, all at Amiga Hellas.
Yeah, very good. So some people might be familiar with the Retro Computing News website, and unfortunately the editor of the website has decided to stop updating the website due to health issues. So that's a shame now. But the site will still be available, but there won't be much extra content. But all the best to Stuart Williams, and I hope he's okay. Yeah,
likewise. All the best, Stuart.
Now, other news for owners of Vampire cards. There have just been released a software FPU emulator, which is sort of big news because it was one of the stumbling blocks for using high-end software on the Vampire cards. So what this does is this effectively gathers all the instructions that would otherwise cause a crash because they're not implemented, and converts them into non-FPU instructions. And so this will let FPU only software run, which and while it won't run as it won't be as efficient as a full hardware FPU. It means the software will run and won't crash now when you try to run it on a Vampire. And the same goes for those. There are a couple of rare cards out there like 040 and 060 cards that have no FPU as well.
That's very good news for what I think is at least a vocal minority that have been looking for something like this.
Absolutely, yeah. No, is good because it's one of those things that it trips me up a lot because I do a lot of my programming in Blitz Basic, and that sometimes just sticks FPU codes in even when you don't want it to, and that's for all the wonderful stuff about Blitz, it's a bit of a pain when it comes to the FPU because you can't 100% eliminate it. It's very hard to 100% eliminate it, so it kind of eases some of the pressure on that.
Okay. Actually, on that subject, Rob, because I've been following some of your tutorials, I'm not fully up to date, but so does the FPU code come in when the Blitz Basic is compiled and is producing an object file? Is FPU stuff in there? Is it in the binary?
Yeah. So some of the libraries that Blitz uses now, this is specifically AmiBlitz, I should say. The original Blitz Basic doesn't, unless you explicitly ask it to.
Okay.
But unless you specifically use those libraries. But AmiBlitz has some fairly standard commands like the val command, which just uses an FPU, and I don't even think it uses the FPU itself, just the FPU registers, but it's enough to cause a hard crash whenever there's no FPU installed. And so it's good that at least for anyone who wants it, that they can get around that, and it won't be much of a problem for software like that that's not actually using the FPU in a major way, but it'll let it run where it otherwise would trip up.
Lovely.
Good, very good one. Right, next one is, if you're interested into demo scene, there is a Polish movie about the demo scene actually, and there are going to be subtitles for that as well. It's called The Art of Crossing Over, or the other translation would be something like The Art of Breaking Ground, or the Polish title would be Sztuka Przekraczania. And it's about a demo scene.
I'll take your word for it, Luke.
Okay. It's about a, Polish demo scene and other interesting stuff that's been going on in Poland if it comes to computers, and especially Amiga computer. And if you'd like to see it, you'd have to, for the time being, go to one of the parties in Poland, or, as far as I remember, Data Storm in Sweden as well. There is going to be a screening of that movie down there as well. So I strongly suggest watching it. It's really good. Really good.
Okay, great. That's one to add to our list from last week.
Yeah. And finally, Stephen Leary of Terrible Fire Accelerator fame has designed an add-on for the CD32 that gives it some fast RAM and an IDE port. So it's relatively modest as expansions go, but this is sort of opens up the world of WHD load and other possibilities like that to the CD32. So he has open source that. I don't know if he's actually going to be making any, but the designs are available online, and also the board itself can be ordered straight from Dirty PCBs, and the link is in the show notes.
Yeah, I've actually lost track now of how many products he's basically donating, to the public domain. It's amazing.
He's a bit of a machine, isn't he?
He is,
absolutely very productive person, very productive one, yeah.
He was telling me today, so I was just chatting with him briefly today on IRC, and he mentioned something for the Amiga 500 that will allow you to use SATA on it. And he has boards arriving, he was saying, for that. So I don't know, is that an ongoing design or is that something he's testing? That's pretty much done, but it's great. I love the array of accelerators and utilities he's coming out with.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, we'll move on to the gaming section.
Go for it.
Okay, well, I was saying at the beginning there, I was playing Amiga Live with Amiga Bill on his Twitch channel, and it's an absolutely brilliant piece of software. So basically, FSUAE is an Amiga emulation app that works on Linux, Mac and Windows, and it's got some nice features baked in, including net play is advertised, and Amiga Live basically gives you a front end to configure this, and to also, more than that though, it also connects to a server. So John, who created this, has these servers set up around the world. He's got one in England, one in Germany, one in the States, at least one in the States. And his Amiga Live app basically hooks all this up so that you can, without installing any games or any Amiga ROMs or anything, you can just install Amiga Live, and it will connect to a server, give you the list of games, and you pick your game. You can use the chat widget to tell your buddy what game or whatever. They can join your game, and it pulls the ROM down and everything in real time, and you just start playing against each other. It's really good. Anyone who's into gaming and would just like to do some multiplayer. So, obviously you're not playing with the native hardware, and for a lot of people they like playing on the native hardware, but if you would like to try out some multiplayer online, this is the only way, or what's the best way to do it, because you can do it for games that weren't designed for it. We did have some difficulty with the controller settings at some point with the keyboard. I found it a bit tricky just to get it right. We both had controlled a few false starts, but after chatting with the creator and some people on their Facebook group, it looks like it was just the games that we picked to start off with, and that in general that doesn't happen. So it's a really cool app.
Good one. Talking about games, if you like strategy games, I'm sure you're familiar with the game Foundation. It's fairly new in the Amiga world. I think the first release was around the year of 2000. There were, different versions, like Foundation Gold and Foundation Directory Cut. And right now, Amiga Future Archives have just released Foundation Undiscovered Land CD, so ready to download, and I think it's for free. And if you really like Settlers game, I'm pretty sure you won't be disappointed. So go for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great game, actually. I have it. I still have the CD here from whenever, 2001. I know I was in university, all right, and I bought it. It's a good game. Okay, so Bruce Lee has been released, and that's Bruslii.
Phonetically speaking.
This is a game that's been put together by Amiga Wave, and that's available to download for free from the links, and it's been on the forums a bit recently as well. But these guys have a very interesting style of artwork, which is it's really good, and it's really, really nice detail, and got all the characters basically have giant heads. And
immediately recognizable as well.
Exactly, it's distinctive. Yeah, but it looks brilliant. Now I haven't played it, but it looks the part. So I give that a go, and it's free to download.
Cool. So I came across this one on Twitter, I think, the last day. Planet Golf for the Commodore 64 is now open for pre-order. The game will ship on August 26th, 2017, and the prices start at around €8, depending on the medium or whatever, the format, whatever options you pick. So I saw a video of this on Casual Commodore's YouTube channel, and it's a very nice game. It kind of reminds me a bit of, it would be a very kind of basic version of Worms, or maybe remember Gorilla, that was on the MS-DOS Basic when you got DOS Gorilla, where you set your angle and your velocity, and so you're firing this ball around at a certain, you set your trajectory and your force, I'm assuming, and it has a certain amount of inertia then where it lands and it bounces a bit and rolls, and you're trying to get it into the hole.
Very good.
I love these relaxing games, because I find some of the high-paced ones a bit not very relaxing after a while of playing them. So I'll be ordering this one.
Very good.
Right.
Okay, we're going to discoveries.
Right, I've come across recently a website of a software game dev team, and it's called Pond Software, and this team is a non-profit C64 software publisher, and I've been browsing around their webpage, and they've got some really interesting games and really interesting stuff for C64, and the games just look really, really nice and really, I'm not afraid to use the word cute. So if you like that style, have a look, and I'm pretty sure you won't be disappointed.
Good stuff. I like the name. I think they're riffing on Ocean, possibly there.
That might be the case, yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Good stuff.
Yeah. So when I was in the Computer and Communication Museum of Ireland there a few weeks ago, I got chatting to a guy who was telling me to look up something when he heard I was into Commodore. So Monster 6502 is a disintegrated circuit project to make a complete working transistor scale replica of the classic MOS 6502 microprocessor. So this processor was used in so many machines back in the day. The Apple I and II, the Commodore PET VIC-20, the Commodore 64 used the 6510, which was had a few. It was just a modification of it. The Commodore floppy drives, the 1541, has this microprocessor in it. It was in the Atari, the Acorn Atom, the BBC Micro, and the Tamagotchi. So if you go to monster6502.com, you can see this massive replica at a hardware level, and it has LEDs that light up to show you the movement of data and the processing, and you can see stuff that's going on. It's a really lovely site.
Crazy.
It is, yeah.
It's ridiculous, but it's very, very good. It's just such an impressive project.
And also, C64 Infinity is a device that lets you use SD cards in the Commodore 64. So Craig Harrison from the Amiga Ireland group gave me one of these. Thanks, Craig. So he called over and he plugged it in the back of my machine, and I was able to boot up and run off, tape files, cartridge files, disk images, all that kind of stuff. And while we were doing that, he also repaired my QuickShot Maverick joystick, which was wired incorrectly. So thanks again for that, Craig. And happy birthday to Craig, who celebrated his birthday on Sunday, just gone. Yeah.
Happy birthday, Craig.
Happy birthday to you.
Yeah.
Okay, this website is not strictly Commodore or Amiga related, but I found it there a little while ago and I was looking for some old odd bits. And siliconarc.co.uk, silicon-arc.co.uk, and it's a website that sells obsolete ICs. So they sell modern, up-to-date ones as well, but it's basically when the mainstream suppliers don't, stop selling certain chips, this place will probably still have them, and they've a pretty impressive selection now. Just having a quick look through, they had some old RAM chips from various eras gone by. So if you're repairing some old boards, this might be the way to go. But also original 7.4 series logic and things like that you haven't been able to get for years. So that seem to have a lot of it there.
That's good to know.
I'll definitely put it in my bookmarks as soon as I found it.
Exactly, yeah, I'll be doing that. Well, so I mentioned the Computer and Communication Museum of Ireland. So I wanted to talk about this because it's kind of a discovery to me as well. It was Kenny Gahan, actually, the SWAS Ireland champion, who told me about it last year, but just before the Amiga Ireland event. We now hope to remain friends of the museum and promote Commodore and Amiga side of things and help out with any events that they need people for, So if you're listening and you'd like to get involved with the museum, there are a lot of ways you can contribute, depending how much time you have or the range of your interests. You might be interested in everything they've got going on there. So you can visit ccmireland.com. Or you can contact us here even, and we'll connect you to find out what's involved. There's all kinds of things. They have displays going back to like early Morse type of communication stuff. They have some of the encryption machines, and they've even got like modern stuff, things for children as well to get engaged with. Like they have a smart city on display, which is kind of, like it's got a train track and some Lego and stuff, but it's got all these sensors and it's rigged up to a laptop running some software. So like there's a camera on it that can track a tiny little quadcopter, it's the quadcopter like would fit in the palm of your hand, this thing, and you can fly it around and the camera will follow it. And there's a barrier that raises and lowers for a train based on sensors when it sees the train coming, and there's even a gas sensor. So one of the guys from IBM actually set this up, and I cannot think of his name now off the top of my head, I'm so sorry, but you did great work there. And There's a little gas sensor there, so you can get a lighter, and without the flint piece, you can just press the button on the lighter to let a bit of gas out, and it'll sense that there's some gas, and it'll respond. You know, this smart city will, you know, like raise an alarm or something like that in response to it. Yeah, so they work like with kids and stuff and show them how all this stuff works, which is fantastic. So anybody based in Ireland or, you know, on the west side of Ireland who'd like to be involved, get in touch. Something else I spotted on Twitter is an amazing depaint artist. So I've been seeing these beautiful pictures coming up with a depaint, you know, the depaint header bar across and the palette down the right. They were so good, I actually thought that they were done in something else, and then somebody put the depaint frame around it, you know, a gag or a novelty. But actually, they're by somebody who works in depaint, Deluxe Paint a lot. Jojo073. Or on Twitter, it's at Jojo073, Jose, Jose. He's got a whole stream here of really cool Deluxe Paint images, and in some of them, he actually shows them step by step. Absolutely stunning work. I think everybody has, you know, opened up Deluxe Paint, whether there's an artist in it or not, and had a dabble, even if we just drew a circle and filled it in, like. But yeah, he's got a great Terminator 2 on here of Arnie with the Terminator, the cyborg eye showing through, and Cheek. And some other stuff like that. So yeah, it's well worth a few minutes to scroll through. It's very enjoyable.
Yeah, it's fantastic, actually. Really, really good.
And another thing I came across was Icaros 2.2.1 has been released, and as a part of that release, they've got something called Host Bridge. Now, this might have existed already, I'm not sure, but basically Host Bridge allows you to there's two things you can do, right? You can run already Icaros in a hosted mode, which means you can run, say, Linux or Windows, and you can install Icaros on top of it. So instead of getting a spare laptop to run Aros, which is an Amiga style operating system, an open source one, you can actually just install it on top of your system and run it like an application, and it will sort of use your hardware, you know, it'll use your network card and your CD drive and your USB sticks or whatever without having to do anything special. You know, it'll use the intelligence of the underlying operating system. Very nice. And the system is so fast that there's no loss in doing it. I've been using it for a while now. But a nice addition to this is Host Bridge, which means that from Aros you can launch applications or, you know, call scripts from the host system. So you could have an icon, say, on your Aros desktop that would check. You know, it could go to your Linux or Windows system underneath, check for an email, and, you know, act on a result possibly, you know, like that, like create a sound or display notifications. So there's a nice bit of integration there going on between Aros and the host operating system. Very nice.
Good one. Well, while browsing the internet, I found a Cannonball C64. It's a version of the game that is fairly popular on Android devices. It's a game in a great style and fast-paced and stylish, and the soundtrack, it's just absolutely amazing. And the video will be in the show notes, so have a look.
Cool. Don Hopkins, the developer of SimCity for Unix and One Laptop Per Child, has open sourced his SimCity, and he did this in 2008 under the name Micropolis, and the source code is available on GitHub. And I came across this because I've been playing SimCity and I'm trying to figure out, I was hoping to find code somewhere, see if I could possibly figure out the rules, because at the moment I just end up, rather than solving any problems, I tend to just mitigate a problem. So like there's unemployment, so I'll create the increased industry will create a demand for more population and more housing. There'll be a housing shortage. So I seem to be just going back and forth between the two, and the map is just sprawling. Yeah, so I was hoping to see if there's a smart, and actually part of it was inspired by, I was watching the Amigos. I forget which one of the two guys, was it Aaron who did this video on YouTube, but he was playing one of the versions of SimCity, one of those packs. It's kind of set in the future. It's all this kind of sci-fi buildings. So it's like a skinned version of SimCity. And you know, he was saying that he's actually stopped doing the sprawled kind of megapolis type thing and started, you know, going for really small cities and trying to get the balance right. So I'm thinking, that's what I need to do. There'll be a lot less scrolling around the screen and stuff with the mouse. Yeah,
I remember that being a tactic, alright, that you could make a small sort of hub and then have little satellite towns that were of a similar design, and that was a good strategy because you didn't get the massive traffic problems and the massive pollution problems.
Oh,
so there
nice
you go.
tip.
Dredged that up from the memory from 15, 20 years ago.
Cool.
But,
yeah, thanks. I'll try that one out for sure. Yeah. One thing actually I did find out was that if you are consistently doing well year over year, like I found I was making a couple of €100 per dollars, whatever, per year. So what I did was I left it on overnight and went to bed. When I got up the next morning, I had $500,000. So happy
Then
days.
you do that another day and you have an earthquake and the whole city burns down overnight.
Yeah, definitely want to save before you go to bed.
Yeah.
I found a lovely article online called The Day We Met Our Amiga by Robert Menes. Robert does the Nostalgia Road Trip podcast, but he posted this article. I came across it on the Amiga Love website. He linked to it. But it's a nice overview kind of about the history of, the beginnings of Commodore and Amiga and then right through. So it talks about Jay Miner finishing up in Atari, setting up Amiga, and then about the potential investors coming back from Atari and Commodore. And it was a nice overview actually because I wasn't clear on some of that stuff myself. So it's a very nice, and he's got embedded a few videos and stuff like that, so it's well worth checking out. And something else I came across just yesterday was C64 Unit, which is a unit testing application for C64 code. So if you're doing development for C64 but you're not coding on the Commodore, you're doing it on Linux, Mac or Windows, this thing will let you pop your code in and perform unit tests on it to find out, before you go through the whole process of loading it in the emulator. If actually, it probably integrates with the emulator, but it lets you do your testing in a kind of a more integrated and efficient way. So that's really nice to see, because there's already a really good ecosystem of Commodore 64 developers out there. So the fact there's another tool coming out to support it is great.
Yeah, it's mad. And
finally, there is a list online of modern monitors that support 15 kilohertz analog RGB signals. So ICBRKR of the Particles BBS posted this one on Amiga Love. It's a really handy list if you're going off and you want to get a modern-ish screen like an LCD or something, and you wanted to support that kind of input. It's nice to know in advance.
Yeah, it's very handy, and not for a lot of retro machines, not just the Amiga, but all the ST and a lot of the old 8-bits all only give out 15 kilohertz video, so very useful.
Yes, very true. Yeah.
Shall we move on?
Let's move on. Community news and events. So let's start with past events. Sweden, Gubbdata. That was the party that took place down there. It was between the 30th of June and 2nd of July. There are loads of C64 and Amiga demos, but there's actually one demo, Amiga demo, that may sound interesting. The name of the demo is actually Baby Steps, and it's been created by the guys from the Boost Design. If you're familiar with demo scene, and especially the C64 demo scene, you just know that Boost Design, that group, they are one of the best coders for C64. So I'm really interested in their future productions, as the Baby Steps demo from the Gubbdata was really, really good. In
Germany, there was a demo party in July just gone. That was in Bremen. Now I haven't heard much from it, but it was a mixed platform demo party with an Amiga section and sort of like a old school section. But that was over a 3-day thing. It sounded like it was a pretty big event. But I haven't heard anything now. I haven't heard any results or anything from it now yet. It might be worth looking out for over the next few days.
Right, so let's move to the upcoming parties. A party in Poland is going to take place. It's called Ami Party 21, and it's between the 11th and the 13th of August. It's in the town called Chełm, and the link for that party will be in the show notes. Amongst the guests will be Trevor Dickinson, CEO of Aeon and a great supporter of Amiga, and David Pleasance, former Commodore UK CEO. So if you happen to be in Poland, I really encourage you to visit that town and see with the guys, talk with the guys, and if you have any questions, you can also ask them, and I'm sure they will be able to respond to you.
Yeah, that's going to be such a great party. I'm a bit miffed that I'm not going to make it this time.
Next year,
definitely.
Definitely next year. Yeah, definitely. And I'll bring the family with me too.
Please do.
Right, well, there's another one happening in Sweden soon. Friday, August the 4th to Sunday, August the 6th. This is a sort of bittersweet one. So the first weekend in August will be the Slay Radio gathering, which is great. But it's also going to be their last gathering. So I don't know if you've listened to Slay Radio, but they put out fantastic music. A lot of it is SID-based, 24/7. And they do some live shows as well with guest presenters who are really good, very entertaining presenters, the guys and girls there. So the radio station is going to continue though, which I'm very relieved to hear. So Stormkeeper from #Amiga-IE is going. So happy travels to you, Stormkeeper, and I hope your many Amazon packages don't come while you're away.
And another party is going to take place at the same time, between the 11th and the 13th of August. At this time, it's going to be in Hungary. The tickets are either €10 or 3,000 Hungarian forints, and the link for the party will be in the show notes. And the name of the party is Arok Party. It's more of a demo party, and they, as far as I remember, they are mostly focused on C64 demos.
Cool. Yeah, I actually have no C64 demos. I must, especially now that Craig gave me that SD card unit, I've no excuse for popping a few demos on.
You have to catch up. There are some great demos to see.
Yeah. Also taking place on August 24th from 4 to 6 p.m. There's a retro gaming event taking place at the Computer and Communication Museum in Ireland, Galway. I feel like I'm saying that a lot on this show. I promise I won't mention it next time. Admission is free, but booking is required, and the number is 091 564 946, and the link will be in the show notes. Okay, time for the sports.
Okay, so we've been talking about it a little bit over the last couple of episodes, but the Sensible Soccer Days was on there just a little while ago, and that was sounded like it was a good time, but the champion of the PC SWAS competition, so the world champion, is Błażej from Poland. So he's successfully defended his title in top class final versus Andlib of Denmark, and so that went to 3 rounds. It seems there were 2 draws, and the third 3-0 in the final, in the third round of the final. So third place went to Foka from Poland. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And he in the third place playoff he beat and Y from Germany. Now that's the PC competition. We don't have any results for the Amiga Championship yet.
Cool. And just on the off chance that they have just posted it while we were recording, I'm going to take a look at their Facebook page. Let's see. Okay. So yeah, I see Błażej or whatever his name is from
Błażej.
Błażej from Poland won the Amiga. He won the Amiga SWAS title as well.
Oh, did he?
He did. Oh my god. Okay, so the world champion of SWAS is a Polish man at the moment. It seems PC and Amiga.
Very good. Well done, Błażej.
Nice.
Yeah, fair play.
Nice. Really nice.
Right, will we go on to the Ask Amiga section?
Okay, so we got a question posted on askamiga.com, and it's regarding digital video output on the Amiga 600 and 1200. Now, this visitor is asking about connecting the Amiga to the Philips CM8833 Mark II monitor digitally. Now, the back of the monitor has a connection, and it has a switch saying digital and analog, and this was a thing that was, common enough back when those monitors were around. And if you look at the pinouts for the Amiga, it also has digital output on the video port. Now, it would make sense to connect them, and in a way that will work. That will work fine. But digital video, it meant a different thing back then. And so what you get is you'll get a picture, and it'll be nice and crisp and clear. But it's literally digital, as in the colour guns are digital. So green is either on or off, red is either on or off, and blue is either on or off. So that gives a total of 8 colours. So it's not going to be particularly pretty. It'll be a lovely, sharp picture, but it won't be very pretty. So you're best off sticking to the analogue in that case.
Okay, cool. Thanks for clearing that up, Rob.
No bother.
Okay, well, our poll last week, we asked, which Commodore documentary have you seen or do you plan to see? And we listed a load of them, and the list on its own is pretty good. I only managed to get one in, actually. Have either of you managed to watch any of these documentaries?
They're still on the list.
Yeah. The one I watched was at the bottom of the list in terms of votes, actually. The history of the Commodore Amiga from 92 was pretty nice, focused on the American side of things, obviously, where it was developed. But what came out at the top of the list was Viva Amiga with 20% of the votes. Actually, in joint first then would be Kim Justice, The Rise and Fall of Commodore Amiga, with 20% of the votes. Now, we only had 7 voters this time, so that was 4 votes. I don't know why we had so fewer voters this time around, but that's the result. And Bedrooms to Billions came out in 3rd place. Bedrooms to Billions, the Amiga years. But we've got another poll, don't we, Luke?
Yes, we have, and this time is going to be about monitors. So the question is, what kind of monitor do you prefer to use today on your classic computer? Is it CRT, smooth and perfect, there is no alternative in the retro world, LCD, a good deal is better than no deal, LED, I'm a modern man, woman, plasma, I'm a fancy pants, me. OLED, I see the future and it will be.
Cool. So there are 5 options there.
This time.
Yeah. Yeah, come back, voters. It's safe again to vote on our polls.
Straightforward questions, straightforward answers.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, cool. I love the idea of the CRT. I had a CRT television here for a while, and I actually found I got some kind of like very mild headaches from it compared to using the LCD. So while I prefer the CRT, without at least a screen, one of those screen shields or whatever you call them, those screen guards, I don't know if I can actually go back to that. That's just me, though. I've sensitive eyes.
The thing with CRTs as well, you have to run them at sort of the upper limit of their frequency range to give a solid picture. So the further you are away from that, so you think of it, it's not like a maximum. Well, it is a maximum specification as well, but the closer you are to that, the steadier the picture will be. So, like, I had a gorgeous monitor, and it had a Trinitron tube, 21-inch, and it did 1600 by 1200 at about 85 hertz, which was incredible, and it was such a great picture. But if you run that at 60 hertz, it flickers, and you'd have a headache within in no time. So it's all about running it as close to the highest refresh rate as it supports.
Okay, that's interesting. And when it comes to Amiga, like I'm used to on my desktop or laptop, I set the frequency there in the tool. So it seems that the operating system tells the screen what frequency to run at.
Yeah, well, and see, nowadays the screen will have a sort of more or less only have one frequency. So an LCD especially will only have one, and it's usually 60 hertz. So you get faster ones for gaming computers and stuff like that. So if you set it faster, it's not going to display any more frames. You'll just lose the frames in between. So it's less of a thing with LCDs because they don't have a redraw in between. So when you put a picture on an LCD, it stays there, and that means you don't have the same flicker that you have with a CRT.
Interesting. Okay. And if you want to set then the CRT to the upper limit, is that something you can do on Amiga?
Not for the native screen modes as such, no. Like if you're running a PAL or an NTSC, like they're by definition, 50 or 60 hertz.
No, of course.
So that's it. So the best thing you can do there is get a 50 or 60 hertz CRT. like the old 1084 monitors, or the Philips monitor we were talking about earlier. So something like that's made for running at 60 hertz. You run that at 60 frames a second, and that'll be a nice, very nice picture. But run it at 50, and you'll see a bit of flicker. So that's the thing. Whereas if you're running a graphics card and you're running a sort of let's say more modern CRT, then you can set the frequency. And like I said, I used to run mine at 85 hertz, which was, is a gorgeous picture.
Right. Well, let's move on to the listener feedback, will we?
Mm-hmm.
Just as a reminder, you can leave comments on our website, social media, or just email us on podcast@amigausers.ie. So let's go with the feedback.
Okay, so Ivan Falkenstein, my apologies, says, Snoop DOS was hands down the most useful utility I ever used.
Yeah, I think so. We had a lot of comments in that vein since the episode with Eddie Carroll. Lucas Kucharuk writes, great interview and a very useful tool. I use it on a regular basis. I believe it.
Sounds like a dodgy character to me.
Me too. I think so as well. Ben Zainer Snoop DOS is one of the most useful Amiga tools indeed.
Mm-hmm. Zeb Elwood says, I've used this so many times to pull software from hard drives or just to figure out why something isn't working.
And Alex76GR says on AmigaHellas.gr, Eddie Carroll Snoop DOS is one of the most useful Amiga programs and a must-have for every Amiga OS user.
I agree. I absolutely agree. Vincent from AmigaHellas.gr, the best utility for the Amiga, also a unique one on any other platform.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's indispensable, I think is the phrase I'd use.
Right, well, we're at the top of the hour. We're gone over. That just means more quality content for our listeners.
That's it.
So we're going to play out with a very old, well-known Amiga tune by Jester called Molecule's Revenge. Other music today was by Virtual Dimensions and banjo guy Ollie. So thanks everyone for listening, and see you again. Bye guys.
Thanks and goodbye.
Thank you very much and bye-bye. See you next time.
The computer and communication